The world government is going to declare that Buggy is spoilers for chapter 1058 onward. This entire post is a spoiler up to the latest chapter. The world government is going to declare Buggy is Joy Boy. This is a crackpot theory based on a couple of key underpinnings. There's no real evidence for this, but I suspect it would keep with the narrative of the story. Here are the facts I'm relying on. Buggy is viewed by his crew, and the public at large, as a very powerful pirate. He's gone from being part of Roger's crew, to being an instigator of the first and only escape from Impel Down, to a participant of Marineford, to a small business owner, to a warlord, to a Yonko. This is all in the same time span that Luffy makes similar moves. While we don't have a good perspective on the public's view of Luffy, if people have a view of his strength close to what his actual strength is, and they view Buggy as having a similar level of strength, then the general public's perception is that he would be monstrously powerful. The legend of Joy Boy appears to be suppressed by the world government, but not completely unknown. The fishmen know about it, Kaido and his crew knew about it, Roger's crew learned about it. It's not unreasonable that the idea or history of Joy Boy will eventually be exposed to the public at large, and that it will happen before the Void Century's history is revealed. The world government did not want the D in Luffy's name to be known once he was a Yonko. Is this related to Joy Boy? Maybe. But the fact they hid Goldie, Roger's initial, and were probably planning on doing the same with Luffy shows the government is not only willing to hide information from the public, but actively manipulate the narrative to benefit their interests, and that they are specifically concerned with people with the D initial being seen in positions of power by the public. The return of Joy Boy is bad, but the return of Joy Boy, and he's an inheritor of the will of D. Catastrophe for the world government. Buggy is, despite his rise in the ranks, not actually powerful, as far as we're aware. There is nothing to suggest he's awakened his fruit, that he understands Haki, or that his combat abilities have improved in any way whatsoever since Impel Down, or, potentially, since his first encounter with Luffy. As seen with Crocodile and Mihawk, this makes him relatively easy to manipulate, threaten him with violence and he'll do what you want. Buggy is a clown. Clowns are supposed to make people happy and bring joy, even if they often bring terror. So with all that in mind, what do I think this means? I think the world government is going to catch wind of Luffy being a reincarnation of Joy Boy. I think the legend of Joy Boy is going to become something the public learns about, through Morgans who learns it from someone, or something similar. I think the world government is going to freak out. A will of D inheritor is also Joy Boy, and the people of the world are starting to hear about the legend of Joy Boy, and some are even supporting him, or the revolutionaries by proxy. This is the worst possible outcome, but Joy Boy and Luffy being the same person isn't known at this point. Maybe all the public knows is that one of the emperors is rumored to be Joy Boy. If the world government can steer away from Luffy, it might weaken their opposition. If people learn Buggy is a selfish, greedy person who has no interest in liberation, then maybe the momentum will fade, or at least that's what the world government hopes will happen. So, the world government announces, or leaks, that they believe Buggy is Joy Boy. He is a clown, the literal incarnation of the people who are supposed to bring joy. After all, why do I think this makes sense, narratively, for the story? A few reasons. It continues the running gag of Buggy receiving titles he is wildly underqualified for. It gives him something to do in the final arcs. Maybe he's involved with the revolutionaries somehow, as a symbol of theirs. Or maybe the world government tries to use him as a puppet during a final showdown. Have him act as a rallying cry against Luffy and his crew. Paint Luffy as the threat and tyranny that Joy Boy is supposed to stop, and have Buggy freak out that he has to fight Luffy again. But this time with the world watching. It also gives a reason for Buggy and the Cross Guild to be in direct conflict with Luffy. The world government wants them to clash, so they try and orchestrate a fight. It allows us to see the everyday person's reaction to the concept of Joy Boy without it being tied to Luffy. Do people want to follow him, or do they reject him? How does someone react to the second coming of a prophesized savior? Do I think this is a guarantee? No. But do I think it makes sense from both a narrative perspective, from the tactical position of the world government, and from a comedy standpoint, e.g., Yonko Buggy was a running joke for years, etc.? Absolutely. Additional context. I've read through One Piece once, recently, and haven't dived deep into theory crafting for this series. I did a quick Google to see if this had been posted, and some people were discussing the idea that Buggy is Joy Boy. Ironically, but I didn't see any posts about this specific interpretation. If this is like a common theory, my apologies.